Asgard, one of the 9 worlds that are held on the branches and roots of the world tree, Yggdrasil, is home to the best-known Norse gods and goddesses like Odin, Thor, Loki, Heimdall, Baldur, and Tyr, etc. Asgard is located on the highest and sunniest branches of the Yggdrasil. But does that make it the most secure place for the gods and goddesses from incursions by the giants and other enemies? Asgard is encircled by a tall protective wall to keep out all harm from the kingdom of the gods. But this wall wasn't always there. Here is the story, and probably one of the most riotous, deceptive, and scandalous of the Norse tales behind the fortification of Asgard. One day, a certain smith arrived at Asgard and offered to build the gods a protective wall around their home, securing them from any harm or ill-wisher. This sure took the attention of the gods, and the smith claimed he would only take a mere 3 seasons to complete the wall, but on one condition. In return, he didn't want any money or valuable possession. He demanded the hand of the goddess Freya in marriage, along with the sun and the moon. The offer was worth taking thought, so the gods took counsel together. Freya was against the demands of the smith from the very start, but Loki had some other tricks under his sleeve, as usual. He suggested a counteroffer, that the smith should get what he asked for only if he could complete his work in a single winter, without any help except his horse. And if by the first day of summer the smith did not finish his task, he would have to forfeit. After much discussion, thought, and careful consideration, Loki was able to win the gods to his side. The gods consented to Loki's plan, but they had no intention of giving away Freya, nor the sun or the moon to the smith. What the gods demanded would be impossible for the smith to complete successfully. However, the smith agreed to the terms set by the gods, provided they swear to ensure that if the conditions were met, they would fulfill their end of the bargain. And while he worked in Asgard, he would be provided with protection and safety. The smith set about building and constructing the wall, and the gods were perplexed at how quickly he was able to raise the structure. But what was more bewildering was the smith's stallion, named Svadilfari, the unlucky traveler. It seemed as if the horse was doing twice as more work than the smith himself, hauling enormous boulders over long distances to add to the structure. The smith and his horse had made much progress. By the time there was only 3 days left to the end of winter, there was only little to do before it would all be finished. The wall was strong enough to hold back almost any enemy. What was left was to place the stones around the gate. The gods became anxious. They seized Loki and criticized him for giving such foul advice. They threatened to kill Loki if he couldn't find a way to prevent the smith from finishing his work on time. If he would be successful, not only would they lose their beloved goddess Freya, but also the sun and the moon, leaving the 9 worlds in cold, bitter darkness. Loki pleaded to the gods to spare his life and agreed to do what the gods desired. That night, the smith and his stallion ventured into the forest in search of stones to finish the gate. Along their way, a mare whinnied to the stallion from a distance. The mare was, of course, none other than Loki himself in disguise. Hearing the whinny of the mare, the stallion could not resist but go after her. It snapped its rein and galloped into the woods after the mare. The mare ran all night, and so did Svadilfari chase after her. And so did the smith chase after the 2 of them. All night, the 3 tore through the woods. By the next morning, not only had no work been done, but now the smith's horse was missing. The despairing smith was hopeless. There was no way he could finish the wall in time without his horse. Winter was over, and the smith had failed to complete his task. The smith fell into a giant rage, and when he realized the trickery of the gods, he verbally abused them. He stood in front of the gods. It was time for his pay. The gods could now see that the smith was no other than a giant in disguise. On learning the truth behind the smith, they rebuked their oaths and decided upon the wages that they deemed he deserved for his work. What was that? A fatal blow from the hammer of Thor. The giant's head was shattered into pieces, no bigger than crumbs. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Svadilfari finally caught that mare. It was months before Loki could be seen again. The mare, which was actually Loki in disguise, and Svadilfari gave birth to a gray 8-legged horse, Sleipnir. It was the best horse among the gods and men. Loki offered the horse to Odin, and it became the steed of Odin, which he rode into the battle at Ragnarok. If you're a fan of Norse mythology, give this video a like and a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and visit our channel for more Norse tales like this one.